Welcome to Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Joyous conversations about what the afterlife evidence and modern science combine to tell us is true about our one reality. You have nothing to fear. You are eternal and you are perfectly loved. Knowing the truth changes everything. Now, here's Roberta.
Welcome to Seek Reality. I'm Roberta Grimes, and I'm so happy you're with us today. Oh, my dear friends, our guests today are always a very special treat. I think that by now everybody knows their story, and it's an amazing story, frankly. Mikey Morgan is a sixth-level being who last had lived on Earth in the 1600s and who wanted so much to help us now that he chose to take a voluntary 20-year lifetime that ended in 2007 so he could speak to us today in the voice of a modern American 20-year-old. Made sense. Okay. But I'm just going to tell you a quick story here, which is relevant. You'll see in a minute. I have just returned from a trip, and as happens surprisingly often, the woman I was sitting next to on that plane told me that she had just suffered a recent loss, and this is a big one. Her best friend's 14-year-old had just died of brain cancer the previous day. And that sounds like a big coincidence, right? But of course, you know, that is no coincidence. As I was able to answer her questions and recommend to her Mikey Morgan's wonderful book, Flying High in Spirit, we talked over and over again about what an amazing sign that was from the 14-year-old, because otherwise, why would she, flying to to be with her friend, be sitting next to one of the few people on this whole planet that could answer all those questions? Of course, it was a sign, the ultimate sign from that 14-year-old. And Flying High in Spirit is, I think, the best book ever written about what it's like to recently die, to have just died. Literally, he talks about what happened when the auto crash happened and how he was immediately, before the crash even happened, he was out of the car, out through the roof. Those grieving parents are going to be desperate for a sign from their son, and what better sign can there be that he arranged for his mother's best friend to be sitting the very next day and spending 3 hours talking to one of the world's leading afterlife experts. As I say, it doesn't happen every time I fly, but it happens surprisingly often, and it happens to Craig Hogan too, and I bet to others who are in this same field. So today our guests are Carol and Mikey Morgan, who are with us for the 22nd time. I first met Carol maybe a dozen years ago, and I tell you, this was her first ever afterlife conference, and she was just trying to help someone help her figure out how to help Mikey, able to help other people, because she had no idea. She didn't even know there was such a thing as just this searching and trying to understand more about the afterlife. But I helped her to get plugged in. But meanwhile, I didn't believe her story for a minute. This is terrible to say now. I didn't, because it was so unlikely. Because that's true, I tested Mikey extensively, hundreds and hundreds of questions of Mikey, and he never, ever made a mistake. And not only that, but he kept answering questions and then giving me a little more information. I mean, he's no fool. He knew he was dealing with a skeptic. And before long, within a year, I realized not only was I dealing with a sixth-level being, but it was one who had me pretty well figured out too. I have spent more than 50 years researching the afterlife and the greater reality, and not only were his answers always dead on accurate, pardon the pun, he has taught me things that I wondered about for many years, and he made sure he gave me answers that were in my mind. I didn't even have to voice those questions. Mikey Morgan is the real deal. And it is a privilege and honor for us to have this wonderful connection with a sixth level being. Mikey communicates with us now from very near the Godhead. His answering our questions this way is a gift. And Mikey and Carol are our guests today on Seek Reality for their 22nd time. They're regulars at this point. Carol and Mikey, welcome back. It's lovely to have you with us again.
Thank you, Roberta. Of course, we always like to be here, so we just want to help and encourage people and give them hope and get a better perspective of what's going on here.
you and I both feel the same way. I mean, we have the ability to give a gift, and it's a precious gift because most of the people in the world still have no idea that they're going to live eternally. And so we want to give them that gift. And that's certainly what Mikey wants to do. So why don't we get right to it? I mean, first, let's just say if you have a question for Mikey, how can you get it to Carol? Well, the best way is to just go to robertagrimes.com, click on the green contact block, and send it to me. I gather these questions and I send them to Carol periodically. She works with Mikey to get the answers accurately. And I'm going to ask her before we start doing the actual answering of questions. She's going to tell you how she gets these answers and how she's able to make sure they're so accurate. But that's the easiest way if you would like to have your questions answered. So explain first, Carol, how you get these answers from Mikey.
So when you send me a question, I sit down at my desk, I bring out my pendulum, and then I have this little disc that I use with the pendulum that has letters and numbers on it. I do hear Mikey telepathically, but I also use my pendulum because I guess seeing is believing for me a little bit too. I really want to confirm what I'm hearing telepathically. And so I call for him. I go through a ritual for protection and everything, spiritual protection from God before I even start this. And then I call for him and I ask him personal questions first, where I know the answers to confirm and validate. And then I start with the question and I'll ask him the question and I'll hear the answer. And then I'll use my pendulum to confirm what I have heard. And so Roberta, you know, when I started this years ago, I didn't know what the heck I was hearing because I was brought up very strict Catholic. And so the only thing I really knew was what I was taught through the Catholic Church. And so with some of his answers, I thought, well, is this for real or is this,
Well, let's start answering some of these questions. You have the list of questions there.
I do, yes. Uh-huh.
And that he has answered. Now, all of these you've gone through. That's why we don't do this on air, because you want to make sure that you've got the answers properly. You've confirmed them, double confirmed them with Mikey. Everything is kosher. That's why we don't do this on air. It would take too long, number one. And number two, we don't want any nasty surprises from demons. They really are demons is what they are, that might try to disrupt the party. So what's the question and what did he say?
The first question, Roberta, is, do you choose your gender before you are born? I think what's important with this question is to understand Mikey's definition of gender, which may be different from our human version of gender. Mikey describes gender as how we identify when we are in this dimension, how we identify with a female or male body. And that is in regards to what sex we are. Are we male with male organs or are we female with female organs? Now, when we come here, Mikey says, yes, we do choose what sex we are. In other words, what body, what vehicle our soul is going to use while we're here. The reason for that, of course, is Mikey says there's a lot of different life lessons that we have depending upon what earthly shell we're using. When it comes to gender, how we as souls identify with the male or female body can vary after we're here in this dimension. And that is because when we have numerous lifetimes in regards to reincarnation, we can have bleed-throughs or influences that come through from previous experiences we've had when we've been here before. So, for example, let's say I come here as a man and I'm in a male body. But I've been in a female body numerous times when I've been here before. Those tendencies can bleed through into this next lifetime, and those influences can. So then that's where we get into the conversation about homosexuality or ultimately transgender or whatever the case may be, because we are not comfortable, or we're in the earthly shell that we chose to be in because of our previous life experiences.
Beautifully said. Exactly.
So yes, we choose what sex we are going to be, but not necessarily what gender we're going to be, because things can change when we come here in this dimension because of our previous experiences, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I had that experience myself as a child. I wanted nothing more than to be a male until I hit puberty, and suddenly my hormones matched my body, and I've been happily a female ever since. But that's why there's a lot of gender confusion before hormones hit, because I later had found out I'm almost always male. And so no wonder I was confused when I was born as a female. Very unusual for me. So, yeah.
Well, and Mikey tells me the more that souls keep returning here on Earth, the more you're going to see this happen. So it's something to keep in mind. I mean, if people could just understand, we're souls. Everybody's the same. It doesn't matter. And it's society rules that say, well, if you've got female parts, you're supposed to look and act this way. And when you have male parts, you're supposed to look and act this way. Makes sense. It's really not how we look at it from the afterlife or heaven. We're souls, and our body is strictly just our vehicle that we use in this dimension. And we do choose what shell we kind of want to be in, because there are lessons that are associated, of course, with a different earthly shell, whether you're male or female. So the next question then, Roberta, was, do you generally keep your same gender in many lifetimes? Well, not necessarily when it comes to gender, but it can when it comes to what sex or body type you choose to take on when you come.
Yeah, as in my case again, apparently virtually always I've been in a male body. But if you then stick a female body somewhere in that line, it confuses, until the hormones kick in, it really confuses that soul. It does. I know, I can tell you.
Yep, that's correct. So the next question we got was, how can I get my spirit guide to talk to me? Well, Mikey says,
this is a goodie. Okay.
Mikey says,
I get this all the time, Mikey.
We are being influenced and guided all the time, really. They're constantly bonking us on the head and trying to get us to go in the right direction. And we are totally unaware of it. If we become more open, and I don't know, Roberta, I just know myself, and you probably were like this too. Until I knew what I know now, I was totally oblivious to even this concept.
There was a time I felt that way too. I didn't know.
So It is going on all the time. You have an inner voice. And some of this can be coming from your higher self, which is, we've talked about before, from our higher knowledge base that we have in the afterlife. But we are guided, and it can be in subtle ways. And, I talk out loud. So I know Mikey's one of my guides now, and I love to talk out loud because it's the humanness of it. And, listen, and whether you can kind of quiet your mind from things, if you take a walk and you just enjoy nature and just try to open yourself up more to hear things, you can hear things. And my thought has always been, and I truly believe this, is doubt will shut the door. So when we doubt things that happen to us and we think that they're a coincidence, that can shut down our openness. So it's good to, when you hear something that seems good and everything, take it. Mikey says things that are God-based have love at the base of it all. It's positive energy. And so you want to embrace that and hold on to that, because it really is a good thing for us. But our guides are around. They don't sleep a lot like you may think that they do. They're hanging with us, and they hear us and they help us.
What I have discovered just from my own experience is that if you say to your guide, because they're in our minds, or they're in the head area generally, so and they're in our minds. So if you say to your guide, please step outside my body, what they'll do is go behind your dominant shoulder. So what my guide did was go behind my left shoulder, because I'm left-handed. And so if you hear, and then try to, say, talk to your guide, ask a question before you're going to go to sleep. A simple question, with a yes or no answer, and then look for that answer in the morning. This is basic stuff if you're trying to communicate with your guide. Don't expect it the first morning, but if you keep asking that question, and if it's a simple question, and not what is the meaning of life or some major question, but a simple question, you should be able to get the answer within a week or so. And it gets more complicated. If you want to get to Carol and Mikey's level, that takes time. But even that, you can reach. I mean, I communicate with my Thomas all the time. But that's taken us years to get to that point. But again, he's behind my left shoulder. That's where he communicates from now, because that's what I expect. And your guide really wants to give you what you expect. They don't you find? I mean, they're very eager to help us.
They can communicate in different ways. Now, like with Mikey, I'll talk to him before I go to bed. I'll wake up in the morning and there'll be a song playing in my head. Well, I can hear this. I don't have the radio. I have no music on, but I can hear this song playing in my head. And it's literally the answer to what I was asking the night before. So they can use different ways to let you know the answer.
All kinds of
not
things.
Just, it can
very creative guys.
They can be very creative.
And females too.
Yeah.
These beings, and playful as all get out. I mean, if they think of a joke and they think that joke is funny, they're going to make sure that they share their joke with you somehow, and it will be unexpected. They'll play jokes on you too. It's a wonderful thing, actually. I love the relationship you can have with your guide. And although they do have their friends in their lives where they are now, they've pledged to spend their life with you. And so therefore they spend a lot of time with us, and it is very much in their best interest. My Thomas tells me that the more advanced I become during this lifetime, the more credit to him is given. And so he wants me to advance. They're on our team, and they're heading our team. So doesn't Mikey say that to you?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I know by doing when I'm here trying to help others, I mean, that helps him when he gives me this knowledge, and they can move in an instant,
Oh, yeah.
And so when I really need him and I call for him, he's here. So
He's
then,
right there.
But then I remember I asked him once, do you remember Charlie Brown when he would talk to his mom and she'd go, blah, 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 blah. Well, he says, some of the irrelevant stuff, he goes, I don't always pay attention to, but when I really need him, and there's times that I do, I mean, he's here and he listens to me, and I get answers. And so it's really amazing how close and quickly they can get to us. So I definitely tap in, and I do like to talk to them out loud. It's the humanness of it for me.
It's a wonderful relationship. And I think maybe at some point we ought to even do just a program on that, because I get so many questions people want the kind of relationship that you have with Mikey, that I have with my spirit guide. This kind of real relationship, sort of real life relationship, as opposed to just hypothetical. People want that more and more. They want that. As the veil thins too, it becomes more and more possible for people to have that kind of relationship.
Right. And I think the more we can put down this is my personal opinion, the more we can put down our barriers of society rules and open, because we are really spiritual beings just having a brief physical experience. So if we can tap into the concept of more spiritual ways versus physical with the society rule ways, I think that can be helpful too.
Huge. People will expect certain things and they'll say, oh no, I haven't had a sign from my son or my husband. Oh, I wish I would. Well, have you had anything at all? Well, there is the fact that I very often when I enter a store, I'll hear our favorite song playing, but that's a coincidence. And they'll give you a whole list of all these real signs the poor guy's desperate to get through. And they dismiss it all as coincidences. So I don't know. I kind of give up. I really empathize with our loved ones who are trying to get through with signs.
They really want to help us. I mean, right. Grief is tough. But I will say, doubt shuts the door. So if we doubt these things, I mean, what's the chances of every time you go into a store, the song is playing? I mean, they can manipulate things and the timing is perfect because they're in a timeless dimension.
About that too, how they really are able, because there is no real time there, they can easily make that song play over and over again if they want to.
Right. I mean, it's amazing what they can do. And so I really encourage people not to doubt. Embrace what's happening to you. Embrace this incident that just occurred because it's real. I mean, I don't even know I don't believe in coincidences really. I mean, certainly with certain things, I mean, not when it comes to spiritual stuff. It's real. It's so real. And it's transformed my whole life. It's made it so much more enjoyable and less stressful and hopeful and positive. I just, going through the toughest thing I've gone through has broken me open to the greatest gift I think I could have ever gotten.
Beautifully said, my dear. Oh, beautifully said. All right, so what's another question?
The next question is, are there insects in the afterlife? Well, Mikey says, if you want them, you can have them. So now I asked Mikey about this question. I went into it a little further about bugs and such. I said, do bugs have a soul? And Mikey says, not, like animals have souls. They are of a different type of soul group, than we are. But they definitely are a soul of a different type than we are.
That's so your dog, your cat, your horse, all those creatures, yes, they have souls.
Yes, they have souls. So, yes, you will see them in the afterlife. But when I asked him about an insect, and he says, he described an insect as it's an energy fragment, is how he described.
Fragment, interestingly put.
Is how he described a bug. So he said, they're kind of an energy fragment. So he said, I, of course, would want to see dragonflies and butterflies. Well, Mike says, you absolutely can see dragonflies and butterflies if you want. Our minds are very powerful. But he said that, you don't have to see them if you don't want to see them, but if you want to see them, you certainly can see them. But he described them as an energy fragment, which I thought was interesting. I've never heard that term before. Yeah. But he said, like a mosquito doesn't have a soul. He says it's an energy fragment is how he described it. The next question is, are there snakes in the afterlife? Sure. There's snakes if you want a snake. If you want a snake.
Well, if somebody had a pet snake, the way people have a pet cat or a pet dog, they could have their pet snake in the afterlife. I could imagine someone asking that question.
Yes. There's a loving connection there.
I love my snake. I don't want to go to the afterlife if I can't have my snake.
No.
They say that about their dog all the time. Right.
I don't know if I don't think I will have a snake, but no. I'm certainly going to have a turtle or two, probably.
Yeah. But he says, yeah, that you could have your pet rattlesnake if that's what you really want.
That's correct.
Oh, that's correct. Okay.
Yep. So I don't know where we are for time, Roberta, but the next question is, I think you said there really isn't a hell. Now, Mikey will say there is no eternal damnation like what we are taught in religion class, at least what I was taught in religion class.
Right.
So the next part of the question is, but what if you did something really bad, like killing someone? What would the afterlife punishment be for that? Mikey tells me that, when we pass, we have a life review with our spirit guides and our elders. He talked about with his, when he returned, he was with his elders and spirit guides. Anyway, you go through your life. It's like watching a movie. And he said, you feel the emotion and pain of what you did to somebody else with these different experiences that you've had. Again, our intent with our actions is key, because we may do something that hurts somebody's feelings or whatever and not even know that we did that because that wasn't our intent. When it comes to killing somebody, intentionally murdering somebody, Mikey said you're going to feel horrible when you get back and you have this review. You're going to feel the emotions of the whole train wreck you basically left behind. And when it comes to someone who murders several people, it can be overwhelmingly horrible. And you go through this and you put yourself in what is called the outer darkness, which I know we've talked about before.
Right, which Jesus talked about as well.
Yes, and Mikey says it's horrible. It's ishy. Now, I do want to comment here again on this with, our soldiers, our military, who their intent can be when they're defending somebody, their intent is to protect others and to help. I mean, again, this all has to do with our true intent and what our feeling is when we take on these different roles. Because we do live forever. I mean, we are eternal beings. We're souls. And so there can be a different component to it when depending on your intent and whether you're a soldier or you're a mass murderer out there and you're just trying to kill everybody because you're full of hate and vengeance. There's a big difference. So I do want to clarify those two different things. But Mikey says you carry on with that, all those emotions, and he says it's not pleasant for some of these evil, very negative, hurtful people that do these horrific things. It's not good. It's not a fun thing.
You are you're
judging yourself.
Yes.
Now, Mikey also says, if you come into that life review and you have your ego still is very strong from this dimension and you feel like, well, I don't care if I did that. I didn't do anything. You have a bad, you're taught by your guides that no, this is why this was so horrific. I mean, it doesn't give you a pass for your horrible, mean, cruel intent, even though you have this superior ego attitude that still is kind of influencing you when you first return to the afterlife. Mikey says you are taught. I mean, this is a time of learning and teaching. And then when you fully get a grasp of it and you get a total understanding of it, you feel horrible. You feel all the ish, and Mikey says you put yourself you're in the outer darkness. I mean, you put yourself in the outer darkness. He says it's horrible.
It is horrible, and it can go on for a very long time, right, Mikey? I mean, that's
very long time.
Yeah.
Because once we get back to the soul
God didn't judge you.
concept,
Right.
it's tough.
You judged yourself.
Right. And it's about learning and teaching when we have that review.
Yep. That's
So
yet again, that's exactly what we've learned from the evidence, but he adds more. I just love listening to him. And I think we really have come to the end of our time now. But we have a lot more to talk about in many more of these wonderful episodes. I just so enjoy hearing Mikey's point of view on things. So enjoyable. So, but you and Mikey,
it is, and it's fun. It's a good conversation.
Yeah. But what is Mikey doing now? Because he's, I think, close to the top of the 6th level, right? So he's not much.
Well, he's still, I actually have needed him for some, I've got a close family relative that is having some medical issues. And so I have been really tapping into him, having him help us with that. And he's been so amazing with signs and things that he has done in regards to this, and really giving my relatives such hope and positivity. I mean, it's really been wonderful. So I've kind of been taking advantage of keeping him busy with some other things here on Earth. But, he comes and goes.
Contacts, we'll say. High up contacts. That's
right.
a nice
I tap into him when I really need personal, but he does help us. I mean, he still loves us all, all his connections that he has. So I'm utilizing him here a little bit more than usual, but it's been a good thing. So what he's doing there, I haven't even asked him because I've been too busy asking him for other things, but he does, he still does his crazy snowboarding and stuff, Roberta. I know that because he talks about it. And what was so funny, I have to say this one sign real quick. He told a good friend of ours who's a big skier, he was going to go out to Utah, and he told him that, I'm going to be there with you snowboarding right next to you, and I'm going to send you a good sign. Well, he went out there and he was looking and looking and looking, and here he came up to a black diamond route. And the name of the run, Black Diamond Run in the mountains, this was in Utah, and he came to the Black Diamond, and the name of the Black Diamond was Mikey's.
Really? Somebody must have read the book.
He took a picture of the Black Diamond sign and said it literally was a sign. Oh. And of course it was a black diamond because Mikey was a really good snowboarder. So he was so thrilled about that. So, I mean, Mikey's still doing that kind of crazy stuff too. He's still a kid. Well, he still has that 20-year-old fun personality, Roberta.
Yeah,
he's the same.
But that's reassuring to people. He has not lost who he is, even though he is at such a high level. Most people at his level have not been on Earth for hundreds of years. They've lost contact altogether, but
he's still that 20-year-old snowboarder, and he loves it. And so, our loved ones are still close. I can't tell you. I want to give people hope because it's so true. They're so close. And so talk to them and pay attention
aloud to them
signs.
Because the energy is very positive. Yes. And it maintains and enhances that connection. Beautifully said. Oh, my dear, consider yourself hugged. And we will do this again very soon.
Sounds good, Roberta. Thank you.
And meanwhile, everyone, as you know, this has been Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. And this is, once again, it's very important for you to understand. I keep saying this, but I can't begin to tell you how important it is. It's very important for you to remember and never forget the fact that your own reality really is eternal. I cannot stress this enough. You are a powerful, eternal being, as Mikey is. He's a little ahead of you in the race, but that's all. And we all get to the same finish line. But you never began, you never will end. And when you really get that, what that means, wow, it changes everything in your life for the better. Next week, our guests will be Dr. Raymond Moody, who will be here for the third time, and his co-author, Paul Perry, to talk again about their latest book, which is Proof of Life After Life, 7 Reasons to Believe that There is an Afterlife. Now, Raymond Moody coined the term near-death experiences, or NDEs, back in 1976, I guess. But he does not claim that people can die and come back to life. He does not claim that you can die and come back to life, because in fact you cannot. He's much too careful a scientist to say something like that. Instead, he and Paul Perry have written what I think is just a fantastic book. It summarizes some of the best afterlife evidence there is, and I think everybody should read their book. So they're coming for the second time to talk about it. We didn't quite get through all 7 of the best proofs. We're going to do that next week, so please do join us. This week, Carol and Mikey Morgan have been with us for the 22nd time. They actually were among our first guests more than 10 years ago. Mikey is a 6th-level being who last lived on Earth in the 1600s, and he has achieved the spiritual level of reality, which is just below the source. He's almost at the Godhead level, and yet he still snowboards. So as you can see, we're all, as long as people keep connection with the Earth, they remain well-rounded. This is true of Jesus, too. He is fully God, and he still remains fully man. It's amazing. I may try to do a whole show on that, what I know about that, but it's astonishing how hard he works to remain his connection to all of us. Mikey didn't have to come back. He was way past the need to incarnate again, but he just wanted to do this for us so he could do just what he's doing now, which is to tell us the truth about reality and where we're going next. I have tested Mikey, and I am ruthless when it comes to this because there are a lot of false claims being made now, most notably, of course, by the people who say they died and came back to life, which you cannot do. Mikey is the real deal. And Carol is the perfect conduit for him because she's careful about never doing any research herself. She's clueless. Everything she knows, she's learned from the fact that she is basically serving Mikey now. And she's doing it, as you can see, so joyfully that every time I talk with her, it just makes my heart sing. She's just a lovely, lovely person herself. If you have any question you'd like Mikey to answer, just send those questions to me via the email. It will be sent to me if you just go to that green contact block on robertagrimes.com. Don't be shy about doing this because he loves answering readers' questions. And if you think it's off the wall, believe me, we've heard some off the wall questions answered here in the last, more than 10 years. So we're happy to ask him every question. And so far, there's not been one where he has not gotten right. Now, of course, it's time once again to mention that Seek Reality Online is your one-stop resource for all things afterlife. Just go to seekreality.com, start to learn for yourself that your personal reality truly is eternal. It never, ever will end. That is 100% true. Now, if you have been a mass murderer, as Carol points out, you may be not really happy about what comes next. That's one reason to kind of try to live the best possible life you can, because if you have lived a really good life, the things they do there for you, parades, statues, all kinds of things for people, and you don't have to have done much. I could do a whole program just telling you the stories about little things that people did out of pure love and how they rolled out the red carpet for those people when they got home, just because it was a lot of love and it was a stretch for those people. If it's a stretch for you, believe me, you're going to be very happy when you get back, and they will give you, they'll roll out whatever is for you the best red carpet possible. Again, Craig is your expert, Craig Hogan, and Seek Reality Online is your worldwide resource for all things afterlife. And of course, teachingsbyjesus.com is your best resource for all the beautiful divine truths that are brought to you in perfect love by Jesus, who's the greatest teacher of all. Now, we think the Christian church probably is, right? But the Christian church doesn't teach you really anything that Jesus actually said. They'll pick out little things here and there that Jesus said, right? But they don't give you whole passages, and they don't try to help you understand what he said and why he said it. Now the Christian religion is finally dying, and as it should die because it was created 300 years after Jesus died by the Roman Emperor Constantine, who just used it for his own purposes and did not make it the showcase of Jesus's teachings that it should have done. He should have done. Now, I have been asked, and I have done for Jesus what he asked, which was to create a website for him. It's called teachingsbyjesus.com. And what we're going to do now is actually create a course as well, which is going to teach what Jesus actually meant to say. Easy to see because it's right in the words. Jesus said, God does not judge you. And he said he doesn't judge you either. So guess what? When we hear from Mikey says, no, there is a sort of hell, but that hell is not something that God is ever going to put you into, because guess what? God doesn't judge you. Jesus was right about that. He was right about everything else. And if you follow Jesus's teachings, you can make this your last earth lifetime, unless you want to come back, just as Mikey did. There's so much the Christians don't teach you. But Jesus will teach you, and teachingsbyjesus.com is the way for you to learn those things. So we aren't quite ready yet to teach you everything that Jesus wants you to learn, but Jesus is ready, and he will teach you. Also, as you know by now, I do have books too. We're a little past time, but so I'm not going to read if I can remember them. I'm not going to give you them again, Liberating Jesus and so on. But the one that I wish most people would read right now is The Fun of Loving Jesus, Embracing the Christianity that Jesus Taught. For young children, of course, there's The Fun of Meeting Jesus, which I think is a beautiful book. It was illustrated by someone much better at illustrating than I am. But if you want to talk about any of my books, and they're all, of course, on Barnes & Noble, on Amazon, and you can't find them in bookstores unless you order them, but all bookstores can get them. They're all actually, I should also mention, too, you can get them as audiobooks, all except for the last one. But The Fun of Loving Jesus, Embracing the Christianity that Jesus Taught is one that really more people should read, because he did come to us with a purpose, and that purpose was teaching. And it has nothing to do with the Christianity that people are now practicing. That's Constantine's Christianity. It's time to give him his own. And meanwhile, this has been Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Please enjoy and make the most of this coming week in our one reality, which we are seeking and learning more and more about every day. But never forget, always know that you are a powerful, eternal being, and you, more than anything else in all this universe, you are infinitely, perfectly, and forever loved.
You've been listening to Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Roberta blogs and answers questions at robertagrimes.com. Join us every week as we explore what the afterlife evidence and modern science combine to tell us is true about the one reality we all share. Knowing the truth changes everything.